Marinka. Marinka is a small town in Donetsk Oblast of Ukraine. It's a few kilometres from Donetsk city, and its population was estimated to have been 10,000 people before the war of Ukraine started. If we have a look at the map here, Marinka is just south of Avdiivka and to the southwest of Donetsk city in the Donbass region, not too far away from the remains of the city of Bakhmut. It's right on the front battle line at the present time, and is one of the towns in Ukraine that has perhaps suffered the most thus far. In June 2015, Marinka had been the site of one of the first serious conflicts after the February signing of the Minsk II agreement. And the Minsk Agreements is something I want to speak a little bit about tonight. In this initial fight, the Ukrainian forces held back a DPR attack. Now, the DPR are the Donetsk People's Republic. The Donetsk People's Republic of Russia. It was created by Russian-speaking residents of Donetsk in 2014. And it initially operated as a breakaway state until it was annexed by Russia in September of 2022. Now, the DPR are important, as are the LPR, the Luhansk People's Republic, which we'll speak about in a moment, because of their fight, their struggle for independence, led to. Or was crucial in the starting of the fighting in the Ukraine between the Ukrainian government in Kiev in the west and the Donbass regions, where the Luhansk and Donetsk republics wished to gain independence and separate from Ukraine. Now, the Minsk Agreements. The Minsk Agreements were aimed at stopping the fighting in the Donbass. The first one, known as the Minsk Protocol, was signed in September 2014 between the Ukraine government, the DPR and the LPR. And it consisted of a package of measures consisting of ceasefires, the withdrawal of heavy weapons from the front line, the release of prisoners of war, constitutional reform in Ukraine, and the granting of self-government of certain areas of the Donbass. However, the original Minsk proposal was unsuccessful. Fighting continued. There was an initial lull, and then fighting resumed. And so, in February of 2015, a revised and updated agreement known as Minsk II was signed. Now, the Minsk Agreements were developed to put a stop to the fighting and required the de-escalation by both sides. Just recently, it has been announced by the former German Chancellor Angela Merkel that the West and the parties of the West who were behind the Ukrainian government signing on to the Minsk Agreement, she's admitted that they were never followed through with, and that in fact they were not even intended to be followed through with. In a recent interview, she stated that the 24 Minsk Agreement was an attempt to give Ukraine time, and that effectively they were entering it in bad faith. And while the Russians signed on, believing that the Ukrainians were operating in good faith, it has turned out, with a number of people, including Merkel, now indicating that it was done as an opportunity to buy time for Ukraine, an opportunity to rearm Ukraine, to train Ukrainian forces. So this has become a major part of the challenge of trying to find a way to negotiate peace in Ukraine, because Russia and Putin has admitted this, that they've lost trust in the West because of events like this. Let's just go here. Since February 2022, Actually, just prior to the commencement of the Russian special military operation on the 24th of February 2022, on the 17th of February, Ukrainian shelling of Marinka intensified. And this was due in part to Russia having just recognized the DPR, the Donetsk People's Republic, as being independent. Since then, Marinka has become known for the level of devastation and destruction inflicted upon the town. Within months and by November 2022, the majority of the town had been destroyed with no civilians remaining. The population of 10,000 had all evacuated or left. And still the area has been fought over. If we just jump over to this live UA map here, we can see that Marinka is just here, just south of Donetsk city, and a little to the east, about 185 kilometers along the H25 motorway to Zaporozhye, to 185 kilometers to Dnipro, and a little shorter along the H25 to Zaporozhye. Down here we have on the larger area of the Dnieper River, we have the Zaporozhye nuclear plant. So we can see that Marinka, it is on this motorway heading across to Zaporozhye, so its capture does get the Russians one step closer towards being able to progress up to the Dnieper and eventually either battle for Zaporozhye and Dnipro, or as they progress, intensify pressure upon the Ukrainian government and look to get them to a point of negotiation. The Western media has assessed slow progress in Marinka as a sign of Russia's inability to advance. However, Russia now assumes control of 50 or more of the 59 blocks of the area. It appears that Marinka may have been another example of the Russian meat grinder tactic, where strategic positions are selected to draw the Ukrainian forces in, and perhaps the complete capture of the city was not attempted, and instead was the battle was allowed to go on to draw resources in, and the Russians used artillery to demilitarize the forces that were sent in to Marinka. Interestingly, just recently, the Bakhmut group of Chechen special forces, as this week has been reported, as being directed to engage in the fighting in Marinka. The commander of the Bakhmut group is Avdiivka, who actually in February survived an assassination attempt where he was provided a letter which either contained a toxic substance or had been soaked in something toxic and poisoned him through his hands. His superior is the Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov, and he's commented that his forces have been instructed by Putin to complete the capture of the Marinka region and liberate or capture a number of the settlements in that area. So today, where are we? Well, today there's reports that the southern Donetsk region of the front experienced Ukraine offensive attacks, with the Moscow Defense Ministry reporting that Ukraine attacked with 6 mechanized and 2 tank battalions in southern Donetsk. Russian forces reportedly killed 250 Ukrainian troops and destroyed 16 tanks and infantry fighting vehicles and 21 armoured combat vehicles, the ministry said. So Marinka continues to be an area of contention, which we'll be watching as Russian capture of Marinka puts them one step further along one of the main arterial roads towards Zaporozhye, and from Zaporozhye onto Dnipro. But let's just hope that the Ukraine government will agree to negotiate before any more Russian towns and cities experience the complete devastation that Marinka has.